into a gold, but the touch of the parshmani stone can convert even the iron into gold. So that first, the stone is the holy name, even though we may be totally unqualified. But if we take complete shelter of the holy name, and we should feel so fortunate that how after so many millions of people, we are the one who came closer to Krishna. Even Krishna is so kind to show us the spiritual master who accepted us in the system and giving us the process that we can strictly follow and deliver our soul. So we should feel very, very fortunate. So let's dwell in the life of Purushottam Thakur. Purushottam Das constantly meditated on and saw the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. Kanu Thakur, his son, was such an exalted devotee that Lord Krishna always lived in his body. And in Purushottam Das Thakur, Nityanand Prabhu always lived in his heart. When Kanu was 5, Ma Jhanva took him to Vrindavan, and the Goswamis joyously greeted him upon seeing his genuine devotion. Great lineage. So in Goloka Vrindavan, Purushottam Das Thakur showed Lord Balram as a cowherd boy, Dwadasa Gopal, 10th Gopal. And his samadhi is in the 64th samadhi place. The 23rd and 24th prominent devotees of Nityanand Prabhu were Sadasiv Kaviraj and his son Purushottam Das, who was the 10th Gopal. Since birth, Purushottam Das Thakur was merged in the service of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. And he always engaged in childish play with Lord Krishna, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Sadasiv Kaviraj, father of Purushottam Das Thakur, was greatly fortunate. His son named Shri Purushottam Das. Purushottam Das Thakur had no concern for his external body, and Sri Nityanand Prabhu always resided within the core of his heart. Mentioned in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Antya 5, 741, 742. Sadasiv Kaviraj was a great personality, and Purushottam Das was his son. From birth, Purushottam Das was absorbed in the service of the lotus feet of Nityanand Prabhu. And he always engaged in childish play with Lord Sri Krishna. And his son was named as Sri Kanu Thakur, a very respectable gentleman. And his body was saturated with the nectar of love for Lord Sri Krishna. Said in Chaitanya Charitamrita 1:11, 38 to 40. Vrindavan Das Thakur has also named Purushottam Das as one of the Nityanand Prabhu's chief associates. Sadasiv Kaviraj, father of Purushottam Das, was very fortunate to have the son like him. For 4 generations, the family of Purushottam Das consisted of eternally perfect, direct associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His father's father, grandfather, Kamsari Sen, his father Sadasiv Kaviraj, himself Purushottam Das Thakur, and his son Kanu Thakur. The Gora Kanudes Deepika identified Kamsari Sen, the grandfather of Purushottam Das Thakur, as Ratnavali Sakhi, and his father Sadasiv Kaviraj as Chandravali. Shri Purushottam Das Thakur had 3 principal disciples, Shri Madhavacharya, Shri Yadavacharya, and Devkinandan Das. They were from Brahmana families. Shri Madhavacharya later became the husband of Nityanand Prabhu's daughter Ganga Devi. Shri Devkinandan Das was the author of an important book glorifying the lives of different Vaishnavas. Purushottam Das Thakur's wife was also named Janva, and she passed away just after bearing Purushottam Das Thakur's son Kanu. Hearing the news, Nityanand Prabhu went to the house of Purushottam Das Thakur and took his son Kanu with him to his own village of Khadadaha. Sadasiv Kaviraj and Nagar Purushottam, who were father and son, are described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat as Mahabhagyavan, greatly fortunate. They belong to the Vaidya caste of physicians, and Gora Ganodes Deepika, verse 150 says that Chandravali, a most beloved Gopi of Krishna, later took birth as Sadasiv Kaviraj, who was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Purushottam Das Thakur sometime lived at Suksagar near the Chagdaha and Simurali railway stations. Unique thing about the Purushottam Das Thakur is the deities. All the deities installed by the Purushottam Das Thakur were formerly situated in Belidan Gram. But when the temple was destroyed, the deities were brought to Shuksagar. And when that temple merged in the bed of Ganga, the deities were brought with Janva Mataji's deity to Saheba Sangha, Bedigram. Since that place also has been destroyed, all the deities are now situated in the village named Chandu Degram, which is situated 1 mile up from Palpada, as referred above. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says about the Purushottam Das Thakur that Purushottam Das Thakur lived at Suksagar, midway between the Chagdaha and Simurali railway stations. The deity he installed were formerly served in Baliranga village, but when the temple fell into the river, the deity were taken to Shuksagar. And that temple was also swallowed by the Ganga. So the deity were brought with Janva Mataji's deity to Sahibdanga Berigram. And since that place was also destroyed, all the deities were again moved about 3 or 4 miles to the village named Chanduregram on the bank of Ganga, about 1 mile up from Palpara. Anubhansya 1:11:39. Devaki Nandan Das, the disciple of Purushottam Das Thakur, write that I worship Sadasiv Kaviraj with great attentiveness. He was constantly intoxicated with love and had no external consciousness. I bow down to my worship of Lord Purushottam Das Thakur. Who can list his incomparable qualities? He was merciful to those who were devoid of virtue, displaying the natural power of his compassion. When only 7 years old, he was so intoxicated with love for Krishna that he danced in a way that enchanted the entire world. Gaudiya Vaishnava Abhidhan. Some people say that Purushottam's surname was Nagar, while others say that the name Nagar comes from the name of the area where he lived. Since the 5 villages, Balidanga, Barigram, Shuksagar, and Manaspota and Polparaj are so close together, this whole area is sometimes called Nagardes. And Purushottam Das once ate snake poison when in a trance state without experiencing any ill effect. This was a source of great astonishment to all who witnessed this. Many of Nityanand Prabhu's associates often displays this kind of miraculous powers. So we pray to the lotus feet of Purushottam Das Thakur to bestow his kind mercy upon all of us, so we can also remain steadfast in our practices. So now we will dwell on the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. We are on the volume number 2. Chapter title is Planting the Seed. And sometime we last read on Friday. So a couple of days has gone, and as we see this morning, I asked 3-line verse that I requested everyone to recite, and only Purnima Sharma Mataji was able to recite. Vraje Sri Radha Krishna Swarati Mani Dau Tvam Bhaja Manaha. So please remember, I'm going to ask you. And also, who has joined late, I request you every weekend we should wash and iron our japa bag and replace it. It's so offensive to use our Guru Devmala into the dirty bag. Some may have not washed even 3 months. That's why use the white color bag so you see yourself that it's time to wash. Don't use the color one. I have seen the devotees, I don't know how many months, they have never washed that bag. So we will read. I knew that he had attained such a high state not by using chemicals from a laboratory or by any Western speculative process. And this was certainly what I wanted. Are you giving classes? I asked. He said, yes. If you come at 6 in the morning, I'm giving classes in the Gita. and bring some flower or fruit for the deity. I looked into the adjoining room, which was bare with a wooden parquet floor, bare walls, and a tiny table. And on the table was a picture of five human-like figures with their arms raised above their heads. Somehow, their arms and faces were not like any mortal that I have ever seen. I knew that the picture was looking at me. And when I came out on the street in front of the storefront, there were a few people standing around, and I said, I don't think I'm going to take LSD anymore. I said it out loud to myself, but some other people heard me. That's where we love. So when we take any vow, we should publicize that vow so somebody can correct us. Hey, you were saying you are going to do that, what happened? But sometimes we don't want to take the how. We want to hide everything. Very well. So we will continue now. Steve is sharing his view. I wanted to show my appreciation for spiritual India. So I presented to Swamiji that I had read the autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi. It was glorious, I said. What is glorious about it, Swamiji challenged. When he asked this, there were others present in the room. Although I was a guest, he had no qualms about challenging me for having said something foolish. I searched through my remembrance of Gandhi's autobiography to answer his challenging questions. What is glorious? I began to relate that one time Gandhi as a child, although raised as a vegetarian, was induced by some of his friends to eat meat. And that night, he felt that a lamb was howling in his belly. Swamiji dismissed this at once, saying, most of India is vegetarian. That is not glorious. I couldn't think of anything else glorious to say. And then Swamiji said, his autobiography is called Experiment with Truth. But that is not the nature of truth. It is not to be found by someone's experimenting. Truth always remains truth. Although it was a blow to my ego, being exposed and defeated by Swamiji seems to be a gain for me. I wanted to bring before him many different things for his judgment, just to see what he has to say about them. I showed him the paperback edition of the Bhagavad Gita that I was reading and carrying in my back pocket. He pursued the back cover. There was a reference to the, quote, the eternal faith of the Hindus, unquote. And Swamiji began to take the phrase apart. He explained how the word Hindu was a misnomer and does not occur anywhere in the Sanskrit literature itself. He also explained that Hinduism and Hindu beliefs were not eternal. So Bruce is sharing his. After I talk about my desire for religious life, I began telling him about a conflict I had with one of my professors in English literature. He was Freudian, Freudian, So he would explain the character in all the novels and so on in a Freudian context and with Freudian terminology. Everything was sexual. The mother for the son, this one for that one, and so on. But I would always see it in terms of a religious essence. I would see it in the terms of a religious impulse or some desire to understand God. I would write my papers in that context, and he would always say, quote, the religious can also be interpreted as Freudian. So I didn't do very well in the course. I was mentioning this to the Swami and he said, your professor is correct. I was surprised. I'm going to an Indian Swami and he is saying that the professor was correct, that everything is based on sex and not on religion. This kind of pulled the rug out from under me when he said that. Then he qualified what he had said. He explained that in the material world, everyone is operating on the basis of sex. Everything that everyone is doing is being driven by the sex impulse. So, he said, Freud is correct. Everything is on the basis of sex. Then he clarified what material life is and what spiritual life is. In spiritual life, there is a complete absence of sex desire. So this had a profound effect on me. Haribol. He wasn't confirming my old sentimental ideas, but he was giving me new ideas. He was giving me his instructions, and I had to accept them. Talking to the Swami was very nice. I found him completely natural, and I found him to be very artistic. The way he held his head, the way he enunciated his words, very dignified, very gentlemanly. The boys found Swamiji not only philosophical but personal also. So now the Steve is sharing. A few nights later, I went to see the Swami and told him I was reading his book. One thing that had especially caught my attention was a section where the author of Srimad Bhagavatam, Vyasadeva, was admitting that he was feeling despondent. Then his spiritual master, Narad Muni, explained that his despondency had come because although he had written so many books, he had neglected to write in such a way as to fully glorify Krishna. And after hearing this, Vyasadeva compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. When I read this, I identified with the fact that Vyasadeva was a writer, because I consider myself a writer also. And I knew that I was also despondent. Quote, this was very interesting about the author Vyasadeva, unquote. I said, he wrote so many books, but still he was not satisfied because he had not directly praised Krishna. Although I had very little understanding of Krishna consciousness, Swamiji opened his eyes very wide, surprised that I was speaking on such an elevated subject from the Srimad Bhagavatam. He seems very pleased. So Chuck is sharing that I had come by in the afternoon And Swamiji had given me a plate of prasadam. So I was eating, and a chili burned my mouth. Swamiji said, "Is it too hot?" "Yes," I said. So he bought me a tiny teacup with some milk, and then he took some rice off my plate and took a piece of banana and crushed it all up together with his finger and said, "Here, eat this. It will kill the action of the chilies." Bruce is sharing his. There wasn't anything superficial about him, nor was he ever contrived, trying to make some impression. He was just completely himself. In the Swami's room, there was no furniture, so we sat on the floor. And I found this to be very attractive and simple. Everything was so authentic about him. Uptown at another Swami's place, we had sat on big stuffed living room chairs, and the place had been lavishly furnished. But here was the downtown Swami, wearing simple cloth robes. He had no business suit on. He wasn't covering up a business suit with those saffron robes. And he wasn't affected as the other Swami was. So I found myself asking him if I could be his student. And he said yes. I was very happy because he was so different from the other Swami. With the Uptown Swami, I was wanting to become his student because I wanted to get something from him. I wanted to get the knowledge. It was selflessly motivated. But here, I was actually emotionally involved. I was feeling that I wanted to become the Swami's student. I actually wanted to give myself because I thought he was great and what he was giving was pure and pristine and same time wonderful. It was a soothing balm for the horrible city life. Uptown, I had felt like a stranger. On one occasion, our conversation turned to my previous trip to India in 1962. And I began talking about how much it meant to me, how much it moved me. I even mentioned that I had made a girlfriend there. So we got to talking about that. And I told him that I had her picture. I was carrying the girl's picture in my wallet. So Swamiji asked to see. I took out the picture and Swamiji looked at it and made a sour face and said, "Oh, she's not pretty." Girls in India are more beautiful than that. Hearing that from the Swami just killed any attachment I had for the girl. I felt ashamed that I had an interest in a girl that the Swami did not consider pretty. I don't think I ever looked at the photograph again, and certainly I never gave her another thought. Very good. What a wonderful strength comes from the instructions of the Guru, right? Okay, it's 6:52. One more paragraph. This is Bruce is talking now, and it will go for long. So I think we should end over here. We should be punctual in our practices. So if Krishna so desires, we will see you tomorrow all at 2 o'clock. So many devotees, I saw that they are joining a little early than normal, and it surprised me. May Krishna give them the strength and the holy name give them a strength that they can maintain that enthusiasm. Very important part. So let me, before everybody leaves, let me offer my humble obeisances at the desk of wonderful Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Vancha kalpatarubhasya kripa sindhu bhayavacha patitanam bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you very much for joining.